Hi, Chris. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you on the show. And just to get us started, if you wouldn't mind saying a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into the book.
Great. So I'm the author of the MegaDeals book, which is sold worldwide. It's actually my second book. So I've written a book also about how governments are forecasting their budgets, which is very geeky. Is very much more dry than the MegaDeals book. I almost became a math scientist once upon a time. I am from Stockholm, Sweden. I've lived in 5 countries. I've got 4 kids. I love sports. I try to stay relatively healthy. I'm the lead investor in 8 companies, another investor in another 7 companies. I founded what is now 7 companies or something.
Excellent. So let's dive into MegaDeals. Why did you call it MegaDeals, and what does the book cover?
So in 2007, I invented the account-based marketing category. And we eventually worked with over 100 Fortune 500 companies, over 400 tech scale-ups in the B2B space. And when doing those work, especially marketing around larger deals, in the coffee break between workshops and tactical discussions, I was talking to, some very high up people in these companies, asking them, so what kind of literature do you study that describes the kind of deals you're doing? And they all said that there are no books covering the largest deals in the world, which was a bit of a surprising fact. And especially since mega deals, so the largest deals for any B2B companies often represent a very high proportion of the revenue base. So you can look at some of the biggest companies in the world, and under 20 deals are representing 80% of the global revenue, which is an uncovered fact. So this means that mega deals are pretty important. And even though they're so important, they're not covered in any book. So I just, I felt I was working in that field as a marketing advisor to some of the biggest deals in the world. And I saw a ton of things, as you can imagine. I was in these workshops. In our organization, it was myself and a British guy. We were the 2 bottlenecks. So we had the kind of seniority you needed in those rooms, which was bad at the time. It hindered our growth. But in retrospect, it was great because I've been in a ton of strategic and tactical meetings around large deals and participated as a marketing advisor. And that gave, and since they said that there are no books covering their deals, that triggered a research project, a global research project that led later on to the MegaDeals book, where we've studied not only the biggest deals in the world, but we've found the very few names in each big organization that are like the Michael Jordans or the Serena Williams of those kind of deals. They're actually pivotal in making them. And interestingly enough, you're looking at a handful of names often, even in the biggest companies in the world, that one of them or more need to be represented in the orchestration of a large deal for it to materialize with a high likelihood. So they are as important as the Cristiano Ronaldos or whatever kind of sports star you're looking at, actually. But that is a well hidden truth. So we've basically studied, much like in Good to Great, you look at those that are serial, especially the serial mega dealers are interesting because the one-hit wonders are not so interesting. You want to find those that are making large deals on a continuous basis. And even do it when they switch team. When they move into another company, they continue to do large deals. Those are the ones we've been looking for. And those are the ones we've studied and interviewed deeply and gone through some of their deals to see what are they doing that the gray mass of business people are not doing.
Let's focus on what they're doing and what did you learn from studying them? Can you give me maybe 2 or 3 lessons from the book that you learned from these people?
Yeah, I can give you some of the things they do. I can also share some of their traits. I can start with the traits actually. So there are 2 particular traits that we've stumbled upon again and again. The first one is that the mega dealers are more CEO-like in their personality. So if you put 3 groups of people in 3 different rooms, you put normal salespeople in one room, CEOs in one room, and the mega dealers in the third room. You and I would not be able to see a difference between the mega dealers and the CEOs, but you would, the normal salespeople you would recognize. So they're very CEO-like, if that makes sense, in their personality style. they do have a talent which you find in the Elon Musk of the world, which is that they see around the corner. So they look at an industry, a company, a set of companies, and they see society trends, technical trends, financial trends, environmental trends, and they see where things are moving. So they're very good at crafting a deal where a regular business person wouldn't see anything, where they see something appearing. So they are pretty strong visionaries, but not visionaries as in standing on a stage with 10,000 people, that kind of, but they're vision, they have a vision. So much like the Gretzky's of ice hockey, they see where things are moving. And they're not only good at seeing that and analyzing, they're good at pulling together companies and people around that vision. So all of a sudden they're crafting $1 billion deal where a regular salesperson would sell a copy printer. Then going over to what kind of things are they ticking during the process of a large deal. So first of all, they're spending a tremendous amount of time and money on the deals where they think they have a high likelihood of winning. So half bad salespeople are spending too much time on the half bad opportunities. So the best people and the best people in the business world they have like a very strong sense of odds. So they look at an opportunity and they're very good at qualifying, is this going to materialize? If they make that analysis and think that it will, they pull in other people, they ask for more marketing resources, and they really allocate resources and go for a win. So whereas an average salesperson is entertaining 100 half-bad opportunities for shit deals. And one of the things to do to find those qualifiers is to see this particular company. Let's say I'm trying to do a big deal with Vodafone. Is this particular company having a key initiative which is matching what I am selling? So a key initiatives are typically 3 to 5. They're describing the big programs that are driving a big company from A to B, trying to unblock certain hinders on the way. So you need to make sure that your deal is having a fit into one of many of the key initiatives, because in big companies, the big money is allocated within key initiatives. Outside of the key initiatives, you find pilot money. You find money, you can do deals with them, but they will be, yeah, let's test something here. We can spend some money on this, but on a small basis. And we even had cases where big companies have made pilots with another big company, but it didn't fit a key initiative. So even though the pilot was super successful, they cut it. So that's the first one. The second one is to understand the ecosystem of organizations and people around larger deals and to map them out. And some of the people we've been interviewing, now we have digital tools for this, but they had posters around. So they selected a room in their building where they had posters of the most important people in this deal on the customer side and on outside of the customer organization, with profiles, interest, name, who they're linked to, etc. So the ecosystem mapping. And the third one is that they're really good at driving consensus, much like in a political election where you need to win votes. In a large deal, since you're selling cross-functionally, oftentimes to no longer a pyramid, but a matrix organization with many arms and legs, you need to be good at winning votes. So they use marketing and sales tactics interchangeably to win votes, much like Obama did. He was very early on using media and social media to win his election. The best megadeal organizations in the world are really good at playing the media game, because salespeople can only meet a certain amount of stakeholders, whereas media can be like the air support. So if we talk military term, I don't like military, by the way. So you talk air support, and then you have the ground troops. So and the underperformers are just generating leads, and then they say to sales, here you have a lead, go hunt. No, the best megadeals companies are having marketing and sales working all the time, all the way into the signing of the deal and actually after the signing of the deal. The fourth thing they do is that they look for something we call Trojan horses. So in the sales literature, you often talk about the champion. So you need to have someone on the customer side that is championing your deal. So they're taking a public stance internally to speak on your behalf. A Trojan horse is someone further down in the organization. They don't dare to take a political stance for you. So they play in public, they play a neutral role, but they do want you to succeed. So they give you information undercover about who you need to talk to, which competition you're having, what the competitors are pushing, who is against you internally, and all those kind of things. They're not doing it because they're illoyal. They're actually oftentimes loyal employees to their employer. They just think that their bosses are too slow. So for them to get things happen is that they leak information. So you need to have a set of Trojan horses. You need to look out to double agents though. And the fifth component that they do really well is that they don't only sell the upside of the deal. They're really good at mitigating risks. So we have a quote in the book where we say, unique selling points and value are bringing you through the door. Risk mitigation is closing the large deals. Larger organizations are really risk avert. So they are so they can spend tremendous amount of money. They have deep pockets, and they are often, from a finance rating point of view, they're so highly rated that they can borrow money if they need to. So the cash is very rarely an issue, but it has to be sold on a low risk. So what you're selling, you need to spend a lot of time with the client to mitigate risks. And this is something that the companies that are continuously doing large deals around the world, they're really good at mitigating risks together with their clients. So those five, they do really well. So another domain, which is actually new. So if you look at MegaDeals 10, 20 years ago and compare it with now, there's a very big shift. Much like in politics, where it moved from TV debates, debate articles in the newspapers and brochures to your mailbox, where Obama was very early using social media and digital media. The same transformation is happening in the large deal space, where it's now very fast becoming very media driven. So digital transformation, if you like, I think that is a bit of a worn out word, but digital transformation has hit and is hitting the large deal space with the same force as it hits retail, etc. So one of the big things that my organization is doing is helping both scale-ups and large organizations to do the transformation from old school sales into this media hybrid large deal method.
Can you tell me a little more about the digital transformation of selling large deals?
There are the three layers in the digital transformation. So before it was white hair or slightly white hair, often men, doing the large deals in a traditional way. Now it's very media driven, as I said, and for it to be media driven, you need to work with three different layers. First of all, you need to have a messaging architecture, not just a brand platform and your corporate values. You need to have a messaging architecture that is covering the entire funnel, not just top of the funnel, the entire funnel all the way to signing and beyond signing. That's number one. The second layer is that you need to produce a completely new level of amount of content, and and you've noticed this in your show. It used to be only sound, now it's video, right? So video, we produce an enormous amount of videos for our clients that are mapping the messaging architecture, so various formats completely tied to the messaging architecture you've created. And then the third layer is a blend. In our case, we use 14 different, it will be probably 17 tomorrow, or 13, whatever. Using 14 different media techniques to be able to, for example, infiltrate Bank of America on behalf of TCS or Siemens or someone. Those three need to work in harmony, and they need to be synced with not just marketing and sales, but also product management and customer success. Those three are pivotal in the digital transformation of companies doing enterprise deals and mega deals.
I believe you mentioned earlier in our conversation that you have applied lessons from the MegaDeals book to your organization, and you've grown it very successfully.
So the first company where we applied it was a sustainability company where we managed to grow the revenue from $3 to $90 million in 2 years. We also got Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson and a few others as investors in that case. And we had a very successful NASDAQ introduction. It was 10 times oversubscribed. That was the first case where we implemented this methodology. And that company is actually doing fairly large deals. But the interesting thing is that I'm involved in 15 companies, but the company which I'm part of running, where I work on for real, not just being a board member, is the MegaDeals advisory organization. And we've grown from 2 to 19 people or 20 maybe in only 11 months profitably. And even though we do, unfortunately, way smaller deals than some of our clients, even we eat our own dog food. So we apply the methodology entirely. So we only have half a salesperson. The rest is marketing driven. And we've already managed to get going with the 2 biggest companies in the world, and a lot more to come. So it's a very, so some people that I speak to say, well, yeah, I understand. You can apply this on selling military airplanes and bridges and stuff. But the thing is, and this is connected to your earlier question, the digital transformation is also taking away a lot of workload from your superstar strikers. So all of a sudden you can have half a person doing sales because the marketing machinery is so effective that you're spending way less time with your client. It's so driven by the messaging, the supporting videos, and the MarTech machinery. So your cost of marketing and sales is actually way lower than with traditional salespeople. And as you know, and you're in the US, you know the salaries. So a senior salesperson, you're looking at like $300,000 up and down per year. The MegaDeals are way more expensive, but it's just a senior enterprise salesperson. You're looking at that kind of package, sometimes bigger, sometimes smaller. You have like a 3 months worth of salary and recruitment fees. You have a 9 to 18 months of onboarding. That calculation in your budget is horrible. And you have actually high risk of failure. So a lot of the salespeople you bring in, you throw money at them and they fail. So growing with a number of sales FTEs is not a good formula. I think that is one of the reasons why our method is really kicking it, because it's less risky and it's faster because it's so much more media driven. It's taking the best pieces from the traditional sales world, blending it with the most modern media techniques. And this is, I think this is part of the success formula. This is also probably why even though we're small, we're so early engaged by some of the biggest companies in the world and also a lot of scale-ups.
Can you explain to me the media aspect of it? So the critical component of the methodology, it sounds like it's about messaging and then communicating that message through media. Can you give me more concrete examples, just make it more tangible for people?
First of all, when it comes to the messaging, we talk about 4 different types. So we call fundamental messaging, which is moving the client from unaware to wanting to buy. We have deal closing messaging that is answering all the gazillion of questions you have from when you say, I probably want to buy, to actually signing. So avoiding risks, deep dives, objections, what have you. And then we have orientational messaging, which is creating a bigger buzz around your topic. So actually MegaDeals started like this before. I was selling account-based marketing. I wanted to grab a bigger audience. So we started to talk about big deals instead. That was actually the beginning of it. And then we have 4th one we call people and culture, where you've probably seen this. You benefit from showing things like behind the scenes, where the customers are getting a feel for the people in your organization, not just what you sell, but they start to like or not start to like your organization, because as people, probably most listeners know, doing deals is not just about who factually based is the best vendor. It has to be the cultural fit and things like that. So that is then turned into, and there are a few innovations here. So most companies are looking too fast on a problem and a solution. You need to look at categories and subcategories. So if you look at Christopher Lockett and those kinds of guys, but a slightly more refined model we have designed. which is mimicking how big companies are making decisions. I don't think we have time to go deep into that, but that is a highly interesting piece. If you want to read a book, read a chapter about messaging and go deep into fundamental messaging. That is an eye-opener. And then on the media side, we're blending, for example, IP targeted ads, where you, through IP number, targeting one organization. That was the technology I invented back in 2007. We're blending that with 7 different retargeting techniques, but also with something we call person targeting, where you say these 100 names are the most critical for this deal. They're inside the organization, but some of them are board members, some of them are technical consultants, strategy consultants, etc. We research them in Instagram and Facebook, and we drop sponsored posts to them individually. We also use native advertisers. You know, when you come into the New York Times, you see some articles are sponsored. But not only that, we actually target them through IP numbers. So we put the sponsored articles only visible for Bank of America employees. And those are just to mention a few. We even done 2 global agreements with 𝐭𝐴 and 𝐂𝐡𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐭𝐨𝐻, where we buy outdoor marketing outside the headquarters of our clients to, again, create like if you've seen Minority Report, like if you want to create this media picture around the client and their top stakeholders, and also people in the ecosystem around the deal. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the top list. There are quite a few more things, but those are kind of a top list of things. But the cool thing is that, and I think this is also one of the reasons, not only because we eat our own dog food, I think one of the reasons why we grow is that marketing agencies typically don't understand large deals. They understand lead generation and awareness campaigns. So a lot of companies are buying from us because they understand that we understand big deals, not just the media. We understand the large deals and the media and the messaging. So the integration effect, I think, is probably a high value. And also, I think my history plays some part, both that I've been in those rooms, but also that I was one of the early innovators in the media tech space with IP targeted ads, which was why I was working with all these big companies very early, because we were the first doing that, and Gartner was spotting us the first in that category, which is now a global category. I unfortunately sold that company way too early to Dun & Bradstreet.
Just for the sake of time, I want to wrap up, if you wouldn't mind, with 2 quickfire questions, which are, for you, what is your favorite business book, or your second favorite business book, assuming your favorite one is the MegaDeals? Beyond that, what's your favorite business book?
So I really like Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore, Michael Eckert, and those guys. That is my... So what I do like about it, not only do I agree with it entirely, I think any leader in a growing company must read it. I think that in combination with ours and Challenger Sales, those 3, so MegaDeals, Crossing the Chasm, Challenger Sales, are and what I do like also about Crossing the Chasm is that it's every chapter is high value. It's not just one idea that you try to fill out, which, for example, Blue Ocean Strategy, I can explain it to you in 1 minute, but there's a whole book about it. That's just one idea. MegaDeals is not an idea, it's a whole discipline. This is pretty comprehensive. I mean, you can decide to cherry pick from it, but it is pretty comprehensive. Crossing the Chasm is also comprehensive, and Challenger Sales, when it comes to sales dialogues, is very comprehensive. So I gave you 2 now, but Crossing the Chasm, I have to choose one. Yeah. And I know those guys pretty well. We really click.
And is there something you wish you knew when you were 20?
Well, actually, if I knew everything in Crossing the Chasm and MegaDeals, I would, because one of my, well, I actually wouldn't say that I regret it, because I completely failed a company where we were about 35 employees because of mistakes that are actually covered in Crossing the Chasm and MegaDeals. However, I'm actually glad I failed the company, because it made me a more complete person, if we switch to the private side more. But financially, I would have wanted to know those things before crashing that company. Because one of the things which is connected to MegaDeals, it's actually one of the triggers, is that I could not scale sales and marketing beyond myself. And it felt, when you're like 24-year-old, it feels great. Your ego is being boosted. But then when you realized, shit, all the other salespeople are just booking meetings for me, I have to be there, then it starts to be painful, and eventually it crashes. And I could not scale sales and marketing. And so that was actually one of my motivations, even before those experiences in those tactical rooms, to creating this book and this discipline.
And for people who want to follow what you're doing, your ideas, and to connect with you, where do they find you?
I would both follow the MegaDeals podcast that you find on all podcast channels, but also Christopher Engman on LinkedIn. I have a bit of a luxury problem there. I've maxed out the number of contacts, but you can follow me. I know it sounds very arrogant, but it's actually a first world problem. As I often have to go in and delete contacts to allow others in, but you can follow me, and I often follow back. So it's not of arrogance. It's just that they have a 30,000 contact limitation on LinkedIn. But LinkedIn, totally, I'm very active there. I drop videos, and my whole organization is doing the same. And we are also pretty open with sharing learnings, failures.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing, and I appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you too. My pleasure.